Hello, everyone. Finally, we are here to talk some photography. Yes, we are going to be looking at some basics in photography. And let me fix my camera. I'm crapping off my head. Okay, we're going to talk about some basics in photography and focus on the. All right, I'm not sure what just happened, but where I left off, we are going to focus on the P1000. But first of all, I want to do a slight intro. I'm going to come over to my PowerPoint and let's see, hold on a second. I was dropped off for some reason, and I'm going to share my screen. There we are. And I am all by myself today, so this is going to be interesting. All right, so I'm going to play an intro. I'm working with two monitors here. Okay, so this is going to be called Basic Photography on Purpose. Learn, control, create. So this isn't going to be a full exhaustive lesson on photography, but at least we're going to touch on f-stops, shutter speeds, ISO, focusing, lenses, and all of that all put together means control. Okay, so we are going to learn how to control our camera. That's the main point, especially when you're trying to learn, especially when you are trying to when you are trying to prove that the earth is flat, trying to prove actual cosmology. But let me play you something. Second. Okay, this is Jordan. I'm playing this for a reason. This is Jordan, and she is 7 years old. She's my granddaughter, and she is my photography student. Check this out. Okay, so this is the color photo lens, and this is the wide angle lens, and then this is the flash that goes on top of your camera. And then this is the body of the camera. This to the side. Yes. And now we have everything out of here. And now, so we're going to put this off. Just a second, folks. I forgot to push a button. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Control. Excuse me, folks, a little technical difficulty here. This is my first time being on this end of the show.
Michael, it's right at the top, remember.
Can you see it now?
Go ahead, click that button again.
At the top of the PowerPoint interface.
Yeah, go ahead and hit presentation. Yep, go ahead, hit it again. Yep, start from beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, can you see it?
No, it's not working. Go ahead, go to slideshow.
I have to get back to the. Are we still in the air?
We are.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to get back to StreamYard. Oh, okay. I'm back. All right.
Slideshow's next to animations.
You mean in PowerPoint?
Yeah. You could try that again. I don't know why it's not working. Press F5.
Is it working now?
Nope.
Huh. Okay.
And it working great before.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah, go ahead and re-add it.
Can you see it now?
We can see it, but go ahead and switch it to full presentation.
Like that?
No.
Oh. All right, hold on. There.
Yeah, now hit it.
There?
Why is it not working? Click on slideshows. You see it's yeah, right there. Yep. Okay, from the beginning. Yep. Okay, you may just have to rock with it like this.
Okay. All right, let me get back to. I have to get back to stream. Get back to stop sharing. Okay. Not that I was sharing in the first place. Let's see.
All right, now it's time to improvise.
Well, yeah. Okay.
This is our normal flat out insight. So, guys, if you're watching, normally this is what happens. I wasn't supposed to be here at all. So my camera's not even set up. So I just popped in to make sure it was running smooth. So thank you guys so much for coming back. We will get this moving. So just bear with us 1 second. Go ahead, Michael. Take away.
All right. Let's get started then. Okay, first thing I want to do is let everyone know that this is not as intimidating as it looks. Okay. The reason why I was trying to show my granddaughter, because she's one of my photography students, that she actually knows how to use a DSLR, take it apart, put it back together, and properly use a camera. So I was just showing that just to show that it's not as hard as it looks. All right, let's just go through some bare bone basics. The P900. Matter of fact, let me get its little brother. Hold on. Okay. So you have the P900s. You can see the difference. So you have the P900, and then you have the P1000. Oh, P1000. All right. So that's P1000, P900. Okay. And oh, okay. You have the Coolpix B500. Okay. Yeah. What's the focal length? What's the longest lens on the B500? I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with the B500, but I don't know how far the lens goes. All right, so just to let everyone know, this is called a bridge camera, okay? And the same here, it's called a bridge camera, all right? So, and the reason it's called a bridge camera is because this is a DSLR, okay? And I'm sure you've probably seen these before, and a lot of you probably have them. This is your traditional type of DSLR. This is a 40x. Okay, 40x lens is not very good for shooting stars. For shooting the moon, yes, but you actually need at least a 2000 millimeter to actually shoot a star, a one single star. Okay, that's what I have found. So 40x won't cut it. This is a DSLR, so I'm going to show you with the take my lens off here. Okay, all right. So that's the difference between this camera and the P900, the P1000, and the P50, the B500. Those are all bridge cameras. And so the difference is you cannot take the lens off. Okay, so we're going to put this big beastie away. Okay, so the P1000 is different from the P900 in that this is 2000 millimeter. All right, great for shooting stars in the moon, stuff like that. And this is a 3000 millimeter. It may not seem like, well, okay, that is a big difference, 2000 and 3000. Also, it has a digital zoom as well, which enhances the optical zoom. But we'll go through that. The One of the big differences of the P1000 between the P1000 and the P900 is some pretty big differences. The screen on the back is larger, okay? Um, Also, it has a manual. I'm gonna try to go close to my camera here. Hey, that looks pretty good. A manual focusing um, switch here that gets from autofocus to manual focus with a flick of a switch. The P9, the P900 does not have that. You have to go into the interface in order to get manual focus. And with manual focus, I'm talking about manual focus for a reason. With manual focus, you have to actually use the command wheel in the back to focus your lens. Whereas with the P1000, you actually use old school focusing dial, okay, which is really, really nice. All right, it's really, really smooth. I like this camera a lot, even though I use, like I just showed you there, the K1 is a big full frame professional beast. I consider this a professional camera as well. And the reason why I do is because of all the functions that it has in it. All right, it gives you control. This is your command dial on the top here, okay, right here. And this gives you all the controls that you need for the various exposure modes. Okay, so because of that, and this Nikkor lens, it's got a really sharp lens, um, and it has a hot shoe. All right, this hot shoe is extremely important because it gives you a lot of flexibility. The P900 does not have that. It does not have the hot shoe. Okay. And the reason why I bought the P900 is because it does excellent video and because I use it professionally as well. I've kind of retired it because I have this one, but it does not have a hot shoe. And this hot shoe is important because, hold on, flash. All right. You can use a flash. Now, this has nothing to do with flat earth. You cannot use a flash when you're doing flat earth photography. because you're always shooting very, like sometimes hundreds of miles. This is not going to do you any good. But the reason why I before we get into the flat Earth stuff, this camera can be used for lots of other things. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen. Something weird has happened with this software. But this camera does excellent photography, just basic photography. I've shot events with it. I've shot macro shots. I've shot nature, architecture. It actually is an all-around excellent camera. Uh, so um, so that's why this hot shoe comes in really handy. Okay, there's one accessory that you should really consider when you're using this camera, and that is this remote. All right, so this remote is excellent. It costs about 40, $35, $45, but it's worth it because you can control your oh, hold on a second. Let me get a I need a pointer. Okay. You can control your video, your still, your video. You have all the controls of your interface when you're going to the main menu, that sort of thing, and your zoom. Okay, so you can actually control your lens with this remote. Now you can also get an app. Unfortunately, I do not have the app on my phone yet. I use this a lot. You can remote control your P1000 with an app that you can get from wherever you get your apps. Okay, and it works pretty good, actually, because they've been when it first came out, it was buggy. Oh, it was terrible. But now it works really well. Okay, um, when you're shooting the moon is pretty easy to shoot because it's so big and it's so bright, and you don't have to worry about exposure and stuff like that. Um, when you're shooting the moon, this camera actually has a moon mode. See if I can zoom in and get in there. Let's see. You should be able to see it. Trying to get it focused. Yeah, there you go. And it has a moon mode on there. You see a picture of a moon? See a picture of yeah, there it is. The moon and a bird. Now, the reason why there's a picture of a moon and a bird is because there's two people that love this camera, and that is bird watchers and flat earthers. Now, Nikon's not going to admit that, of course, but this camera is still hard to get. It's still, and the price hasn't gone down because it's so popular. And the reason why it's so popular is because of flat earthers and bird watchers. Now, they'll admit to the bird watchers, but they won't admit to us. So, what are you going to do? But that's one of the reasons why this camera is still in existence, and they developed it. Okay, they went from here, the P900 to the P950, which unfortunately I do not have, and the P1000. Just to let you know before we go forward, the P950 it looks a lot like the P900, only it has a hot shoe. It does 4K video. This camera does 4K video as well. Okay, the P1000 does 4K as well. The P900 does not do 4K video. You cannot use this remote on the P900. Okay, it does not handle a remote. It doesn't have Bluetooth. This one does. Now you can use your phone with this camera, but this one has does Bluetooth, GPS, and a whole lot of other cool stuff. It's just amazing. I could spend like 3 hours talking about all the capabilities on this camera, um, but let me just talk about how to shoot moon and stars, and then field some questions. So, and I'm talking about some accessories as well, a few more accessories. First of all, the strap. Okay, when you have this on a tripod, okay, cheap insurance, folks. Please don't be one of those people that walk around trying to act cool and they walk around and carrying the camera around like it's a suitcase. This is cheap insurance. You drop this $1,000 camera and it's a bad day. All right. So use your strap. But when you do buy a strap, there are various straps that are designed to come off the camera. Okay. You want that because when you have this on a tripod, and we're going to talk about that, you don't want this hanging off there because you may walk away, snag this, drop the whole thing. Again, bad day. So you want a strap that you can actually take off. All right. And so you don't have that potential disaster. So I'm going to put this back on here. All right. So when you're shooting the moon is relatively easy because it's pretty big. And shooting the moon is basically you're going to there is a moon mode. Like I said, the moon mode, I tried it for the first time. It works really well. And the thing about the moon mode is when you put the moon mode on, okay, let me see if I'm going to put it on the moon mode, and you're going to see what happens when I put it on the moon mode. Put it on the moon mode. Okay, when I'm outside in the dark, this lens will extend, okay? And it gets set up to shoot the moon. This is the interface that you see when you're in the moon mode, okay? The camera does everything, and you just kind of zoom in, zoom out, and crop, all right? But the camera does everything. The moon mode is actually pretty good. I rarely shoot in automatic modes, and so I decided to try it. I was like, oh, what do you know? Okay, so okay, I'm going to put this on full screen. All right, great. All right, so the moon mode works pretty good. Which camera do you recommend for a beginner that wants to shoot landscape photos? Okay, landscape photos, and I'll try to answer the questions as they pop up. Shooting landscape. When you're shooting landscape, you want to have you're going to need a wide angle lens, okay, and you want to have a kind of a APC sensor or a full frame. Full frame is going to cost you more money. This camera is a full frame camera, and let me show you the difference. Okay, so I'm going to take this off here. All right, this is a DSLR. You see the mirror in there? That's the size of the sensor. Okay, that's considered a big sensor. That's a full frame sensor. Compared to the P1000 sensor, and the P1000 sensor, even though it is a big beast, all right, it's got some nice weight to it too. I like heavy cameras. The P1000 has a very small sensor, really small. Okay, it's like, oh boy, it's like the size of that record button. Okay, so compared to the sensor in this camera, larger the sensor, the more detail. Usually when you're shooting landscape, lens is your most important thing, and then a sensor will grab more detail. That said, the P1000 uses software within the camera to give you incredible detail. That's why your moon shots look so good. All right. That's why when I shoot scenery with this, it looks so good. So you can actually shoot well with this in landscape. Um, it doesn't do well when you're trying to shoot low light. Now I know that sounds weird because you're shooting the moon and it's totally dark, but you're actually not shooting low light. You're shooting the moon, okay? And the moon is nice and bright. The camera, if you know how to shoot it, the camera ignores all the space around the moon. So you have the moon, okay? So you have the moon and all the space around the moon, pretend that's black. All the space around the moon, you're ignoring. You're focusing on just the moon itself. And so the moon itself does not require a lot of exposure because it's so bright. So the sensor on this camera works really well. But if you're trying to take night shots of like moonbeams coming down, crepuscular rays, that sort of thing. Or if you're trying to shoot birds at night or something like that, this camera won't work very well because the sensor is really small and it can't capture as much light. Whereas this camera will capture a ton of light. It's extremely good with low light. This camera, excuse me, I got a stack of cameras here. This camera is an APS-C camera, and as you can see, the sensor in this camera is smaller than the one I just showed you, and this is pretty good with low light too. This is superior. So that was a long answer to your question. For a beginner student, an APS-C or a bridge camera will work really well. Okay, for shooting scenery, probably an APS-C camera is good. A bridge camera with an inch sensor, okay, and the size it has a sensor on it that's actually an inch, and it's a really good sensor actually. I have one, and it's a bridge camera, and it's kind of like a good all-around camera for everything, a general camera. And this is called this is a Sony. There are other cameras with inch sensors. I can't show you a sensor because it's a bridge camera. So this is another type of bridge camera. This is the Sony RX10 Mark IV. This is probably, arguably, the best bridge camera in the industry. This is an all-around camera that you can use for virtually anything. It's weather resistant. It has an inch sensor, which is literally an inch, and that's actually pretty good size. It's good for low light. Not as good as a full frame, okay? Because a full frame is like the ultimate. Not as good as a full frame, but it's it's still really good. Okay. Now you have to know how to use f-stops and shutter speeds and ISO together. Okay. So f-stop. Oops, sorry, my board is bouncing. F. This is what happens when you don't have a PowerPoint. F-stop, shutter speed, and ISO. Okay, you have to learn how to use those three things together. All right, you learn to use those three things together, you gain control of any environment you want to shoot. Okay, I mean this is the three things you have to know. All right, use those together. Any of these cameras will give you full control of f-stops, shutter speed, and ISO. Every one of these cameras that I showed you will give you full control over all of that. If a camera cannot give you control, it's not worth having. So, for instance, the P1000. You see this A here? That's aperture priority. This S is shutter priority. This M is manual. That gives you control over the f-stops and shutter speed. The camera does nothing, and you control everything. Okay, so that's a good answer to your question. And if the camera can give you full control over those three things, that's the camera you want to have. All right. And for landscape, you want wide angle. Okay. Like when I say wide angle, okay. Um, lenses. 50 millimeter is normal. That's your normal lens. Anything above 50 millimeter is a telephoto. Anything below 50 millimeter is a wide angle. When you're shooting landscape, you want like a 35 millimeter, 28, 24. Okay, you don't want something that's going to give you a whole lot of distortion because the wider you get distortion. So this is your gauge for focal lengths, for lenses. Okay, meaning, and forgive me if I'm being too elementary, too elementary, everyone. This is the lens right here. Okay, so um, so you want for that landscape, you want under 50. Now telephoto is what flat earthers use. Okay, telephoto you want for telephoto uh, for flat Earth stuff, you want full telephoto. You want as much telephoto as you can get, as far away from 50 as you can get. And the reason why 50 is the norm, 50 mimics the proportions of the human eye. Okay, the proportional relationships between objects. The a 50 millimeter mimics that. Okay, and that's why it's the norm. All right. Let's see some questions here. Let's see. Um, uh, oh yeah, Jordan is hilarious. I got a comment here. Jordan sounds adorable, and she is. She's 9 now. That was done 2 years ago, and she's still into it. She loves her camera. We'll walk into a Best Buy or Micro Center or whatever, and she's a little girl. You would think she would go look at computer games. No, she goes to the camera section. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'll wait for some more.
Michael, let's try your PowerPoint one more time to see if it can pull up.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm going to hold on, folks. We're going to try and see if the PowerPoint will come up. Share screen. PowerPoint. Did it come up?
Yeah, it's up. Just roll with it like this. I think this will at least be better than nothing. Go ahead and
Um,
try from the beginning again.
okay.
The
Um,
from the beginning button at the top. There you go. Perfect.
okay. So can you see the transition?
Oh yeah, it's working great, Michael. Go for it.
All right. So again, f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, focusing, and your lens will give you control. Did you hear that? Okay. So this is well, let me play this for a second. This is Jordan. She was 7 at the time. This was 2 years ago. And
last time I had this camera, I was at the Bay Daddy. See that? I was begging. Man. Okay.
Okay, so that was Jordan. Okay, and that was a DSLR camera, not like a bridge camera. You can take the lenses off and stuff like that. Okay, this is what I was talking about. So you have your f-stops, shutter speed, and ISO. And there you go. So you have your f-stops. That's your f-stops there. And your f-stops are what control depth of field. That controls the, let me see if I can get a pointer here. Okay, that controls the how much of the image is in focus. So once you focus on an image, the aperture or your f-stop controls what's in focus behind and in front of the image you are focusing on. So if you notice, you have here, you have your smaller apertures, well, the numbers are smaller, but the aperture itself is larger. It's a German math thing. So the wider your aperture, the less depth of field. The smaller your aperture, the more depth of field. Okay, this is how you control those really soft foreground and background photos that everyone loves so much. Okay, so that's f-stop. And this is a good example of that. So here, oops, what's going on? Okay, so I use a 2.8 f4.5.6 to get that blurry background, and the young lady is nice and sharp. And then this one, you can see the gentleman's nice and sharp, and everything else is blurry. Okay, and then here I used you don't need a oh boy you don't need a lot of you don't need a small aperture to shoot the moon, because it's basically a 2D image, because it's so far away. No, it's not 239,000 miles, but it's far enough away. But if you notice, even with the P900, if you remember, I said the detail that you can get. Look at that. That's crazy. Um, so, and with your B500, you can get some really good shots as well of the moon. Now this one is f8, f11, and if you'll notice here with the if you'll notice, all the kids in the background are sharp, the teacher is sharp, everyone's sharp because I use a smaller aperture. Okay, and here, this is a shot where you can actually see, where you can see the small, I use really small aperture because this is a group shot. Oh, by the way, when you're shooting landscapes, you want to use a small aperture. You want to use f16, f22. Well, any one of these will work. Okay, you want to use a small aperture so you can get everything sharp. Look at that. The leaves are sharp. The log, look at the edge here is sharp, and the whole wedding group is sharp. I had some fun shooting this wedding. So small aperture will give you all these. It will be sharp from beginning to end. Even the grass here is sharp. Okay, at 11 to 32. If you have 32. So with this guy here, this is a tap dancer, and here's the difference between this is F. Oops. Okay, so this is like F22. He's sharp, his wrist is sharp all the way down to his heel. Everything is sharp. But this one on this side here is F 2.8 to 5.6. And as you can see, he's pretty blurry. but this one shoe is sharp. So I probably use a 2.8 on this, okay? Because 2.8, the wider the aperture, the less depth of field. That's the rule, okay? So shooting video of a scene like this is you're going to want some nice sharp depth of field, because look, that bowl is sharp, that bowl is sharp, this bowl is sharp, the water's sharp here all the way up to here. So you want nice deep depth of field, unless you want these guys blurry, and then you use a shallow depth of field. And then you would use like a 2.8 or something, but that would be hard because he's moving, and he would move out of your field of view. I mean, out of your field of focus, and then he would just that bowl would be really blurry. So let me go back to where I was. There we go. Okay, so all right. So now that we have access to that, we'll go back to it. Okay, so when you're shooting stars, oh boy. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Back up. Let's shoot the horizon. When you're shooting the horizon, you want to use a small depth. You want to use a small aperture. You want to use, let's see. You want to use a. You want to use this aperture up here. Okay. You want to use. When you're shooting stars, you want to try to use like a f8, f11, somewhere around there. Stars are even further and much smaller than the moon. So you want to use as much, you want to use, I usually use like a f8 or f11. Okay. Now the great thing about shooting stars is the method of shooting stars is easy and hard. It's hard because of two things. Number one, stars are really small. And number two, they move constantly. Okay. When you're shooting with a camera with an extreme telephoto, a wide angle lens is going to give you a second. A wide angle lens is just that, a wide angle of view. A wide angle lens is going to give you a wide angle of view. Okay, so here's your lens. Okay, and yes, I'm an illustrator, believe it or not. Here's your lens, and this is your wide angle view. But when you're using hold on a second, my battery on my laptop is about to die. I don't know why. Well, I've got to plug it in. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, folks. All right, so when you're using a long telephoto like this, okay, your angle of view goes from here. Let me put that back in there. Rule of thumb: when you're using a camera and you extend your lens, when you finish taking your shot and you're walking around, pull that lens back in. That's standard camera protocol. It keeps your camera safe from being destroyed. Because that extended lens, you bump that, and that's a bad day. So always zoom it back in. Okay, so you have, this is wide angle, but telephoto, especially 3000 millimeter, like that. Okay, so when you're using a telephoto and stuff is moving around in front of you, you don't really see it unless it's moving a lot, okay, really fast, like a kid or a dog or something, and they're running. With a telephoto, when you're shooting a star, once you focus on that star, once you manage to focus on it, if you move that camera just a fraction of an inch or a millimeter, you could move your angle of view miles away from the star. And you'd have to zoom back out to find the star again and zoom back in. All right. So that's one of the things that makes it difficult to shoot stars. Now, here's one thing about this camera. See this button here? Okay, that button right there. That button will bring your camera back to its previous focal length. All right, so I'm going to zoom this camera out, the P1000. I'm going to zoom it out. Okay, so that's telephoto. So now I'm going to push this button. Because say I lost my star. Okay, so I'm going to zoom it out. Say I lost my star. I'm going to push this button, and now you see it zooms back in. It zoomed back into the last setting I had the camera lens on. So now it's giving me a wider angle so I can find the star again. Once I find it, I let go and it zooms back out again. All right, really nice function. It works really well. The P900, does that have that? Yeah, the P900 has it as well. Okay, see right there, it has it as well. So that really helps a lot. Okay, now when you're shooting stars, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was talking about horizon. When you're shooting a horizon, let me go to. Okay, I did it again. When you're shooting a horizon, you want to have your camera on a tripod, okay? Because when you use this telephoto lens, it becomes front heavy. And I usually use, when I'm shooting a horizon, I use, hold on a second, let me show you on the back here. Okay, so you see, when I change my exposure modes, you see that wheel? Okay, that's program, shutter priority, aperture priority. I use aperture priority. What that means is aperture priority, okay, which is your f-stop, you choose the aperture, the camera chooses the shutter speed. So it's like half program, which is really nice because it gives you more time to think about what you're shooting and less time on the technical end. Shutter priority, which is the shutter priority, which is the S, okay? And as you can see, your interface changes, all right? Your interface changes. Shutter priority, you choose the shutter and the camera chooses the aperture. Now, aperture gives you depth of field. Shutter speed gives you freezing power, okay? And shutter priority is what you need when you want to make sure your action isn't blurred, or you may want blurred action. Shutter gives you control. Sometimes you think people use Photoshop for that, stuff like that. Sure, but you can do that in camera, okay, once you learn control. All right, shooting horizons. You use your aperture priority, you set your aperture, you can set your aperture, and on this camera, you use this wheel here, okay, with the P1000, and hold on, I'm on manual focus, okay. And you can actually use, see how the numbers are changing? Okay, let me get in focus, yeah. See that? You use this wheel, this command wheel on top to control your apertures, okay? When you have it on a tripod, your aperture does not have to be so high. I mean, when you have it on a tripod, you have more control because you don't have to concern yourself with camera shape, okay? And we'll talk about tripods in a minute. So aperture priority, you put it on a tripod and you zoom into your scene, okay? You do what I call horizon hunting. You look out on the horizon and you find a spot. And you make sure you can't see anything because our point is to try to prove there's no curvature, right? So what you do is you focus on that one spot and then you zoom in on it, okay? You zoom in on that spot until you find something. And then when you find something you can't see with your naked eye, then you shoot it, video or still. Focusing on this camera, is pretty easy. There's two ways you can focus. You can focus on, yeah, you can focus on manual here, and you use your focusing wheel, or you use your shutter release. And most, now, again, forgive me for being elementary, but I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. So when you focus with the shutter release, okay, you hear that beep. All right, that's when you know you're in focus. Let me see if I can focus on my horrible drawing. There we go. There we go. See that green bracket? That means you're in focus. Okay, now that green bracket, you can move that bracket around. See that? You can move the bracket around. You don't have to move the camera around to find your focus. You can move the bracket around to focus on what you want in case it's not in the center. All right, and the way I got that is I pressed this OK button here. I pressed that button. There, see? Now I can move my focusing bracket around, okay, and decide what I want to focus on, and that's in dead center when you see that spot dead center, and then you lock it, and there you go, okay? So that's a really nice function, and it's a real easy control. The one thing I like about this camera, the interface is really straightforward, okay? It's really straightforward, and it's great for people who are just starting out and people who want to do more advanced stuff. Okay, so horizon hunting is pretty easy. It's time consuming because you want to try to find something to shoot. Once you find it, you zoom in on it. Now, when you do zoom in on it, it's going to, especially when you use 3000 millimeter, when you zoom all the way out, it's going to have you're going to see this rippling, okay? And the air looks like heat waves in the air. Well, it's really not. What that means is when you use extreme telephoto, it tends to compress perspective and it accentuates everything. Air is always moving. Air is nothing but thin water. And air is always moving. You just don't see it. But when you use an extreme telephoto like this, it compresses perspective and it shows the air moving. It's really fascinating, actually. But it's also irritating because it distorts your image. So when you do zoom in, it's not blurry. The telephoto is just doing what telephoto does. Okay, and the only way to avoid that is to use an infrared filter because it cuts out all the other light waves and you just get infrared, and so you really don't see the waving because of the infrared. That's a whole different subject. I don't even have an infrared filter yet. So that's what you're going to get. So you try to focus, and one of the ways to mitigate that waving distortion is to use a small aperture, like a f11, f8, and keep your camera still, okay? And that's where your tripod comes in, all right? So that's how you do horizon hunting. Horizon hunting is fun, and did I tell you? Because it's not really much to know about horizon hunting. So shutter speed is not important if you are on a tripod, but you don't want the shutter speed to be too low because shutter speeds are measured in fractions. So you have 1/30th of a second, 1/5 of a second, that sort of thing. You want your camera shutter speed to be at least 1/30th or 1/60th of a second. That way you will avoid the camera shake. If it's under that, especially with this big beast, and especially when you're zooming out all the way like that, and you're shooting at 1/10th of a second or something, that's not going to work. Okay, so you need a tripod when you know you're going to be zooming like this. Unless you're using a fast shutter speed. Now, if you're using for a lens like this, when you have it extended like this, if you have your shutter speed up at about a hundredth of a second, 2/50th of a second, 500th of a second, then this doesn't matter because that shutter is moving so fast. There's no time to record any movement. Okay, um, so um, so that's how you can shoot curvature to try to prove curvature. When you're shooting stars, that's a whole different ballgame. So stars are interesting. First of all, you have to find one. So make it easy on yourself. Shoot the brightest star. Now, usually when you see a really, really bright star, it's not a star, it's a planet. Okay. So when you zoom in on it, it's not going to have that wavy feel that I know everyone has seen when they're shooting one star. Oh, by the way, the P cameras and a couple of, actually, no, the P cameras are the only cameras that I know of that can shoot a single star. That can zoom in on a single star. Okay, it's the only camera I know of that can do that. Any of the P cameras, P900, P950, P1000, they can shoot one star. Isn't it interesting that NASA hasn't shot one star? Well, we know why, because if people knew what a single star looked like, they would start to ask questions. So when you shoot a star with this camera, it doesn't have a star mode, and the moon mode doesn't work. Shooting stars is make sure you stretch, okay? Because it's a long, drawn out process. So what you do is you put on a tripod. You have to have a tripod when you're shooting stars. Don't even, I mean, I've heard some people, you hand holding this, you shooting stars, that's pretty cool. I'm not one of those people, okay? Oh, by the way, when you do hold a camera, okay, especially one of this size, or even this one, this actually is heavier than it looks. It's a beast, okay? So the way you hold a star, I'm sorry, the way you hold the camera is you have your grip, okay? You have a nice grip here, all right? And you cradle the camera, okay? And the base of the camera is on your heel of your hand, the heel of your hand. You plant it on there, and then you gently grasp your lens. That's how you make it nice and steady. See that? Okay. And you notice that's how Jordan was holding it. So that's how you have stability. And of course, you have the strap around your neck. So when you're shooting a star, you find the star, okay, and you find it with the wide angle lens. This is wide angle, okay. That is telephoto, all right. You're going to get more in the shot with the wide angle. So then you find the star. Once you find the star, then you focus, you zoom in on it, and as you're zooming, you're focusing. It's a combination of manual focus and autofocus. Okay. I usually I try to zoom in on it and autofocus as much as I can using the shutter release here. Using the shutter release, I focus manually. Then at some point I can't. Okay. Then I have to use the manual focus. And if you notice, the interface changes. Look at that. See that? The interface changes. And then you focus using this dial, which makes it so much easier. Okay, so you focus. There. You see how that gauge moves up and down? See that? And it kind of changes colors a little bit too, because that's your focusing aid. All right. So when the star is crisp and sharp and it has nice lines, really sharp lines going through it, wavy lines, that's sharp focus. If it's a blurry blob, even though it looks interesting, that's blurry. Now, the fact that you can still shoot it is cool, but you want it sharp, okay? Unfortunately, I cannot show you because the PowerPoint decided not to work anymore. So you want it nice and sharp, and the way you do that is with your manual focus. So you're slowly focusing on it, but while you're focusing, you're constantly moving your camera just a little because your angle of view is so narrow. By the time you focus on the thing, it's moved out of your view. It's constantly moving and it never stops. So you have to constantly move and never stop. Shooting stars is fascinating. It is a little aggravating sometimes because your hands get cramped and all that. So because it takes so long to really get it, what you have to do is anticipate where the star is moving because it only moves in one direction. And then once you focus on it, you're focused. Okay? Since stars are not billions of miles away, when you focus on one star, you focused on all of them. Okay? Which doesn't make sense because if they're billions of miles away, if you have one star that okay, here's your camera, all right. There's your camera, and then you're focusing on this star, okay. You're focusing on this star. Guess what? The next star you shoot, say you're going to focus on that star is going to be sharp. If you focus on one star, the next star is going to be sharp. Why? Because they're all on the same plane. Now, according to heliocentrism, this star is here, and then this star is way over here, and then this star is way over there, okay? If they're on different planes, then they can't, if they're different distances from each other, you can't, when you focus on one, you're not going to focus on the other, all right? Yet, when you focus on one star, you focus on the rest of them, okay? That's called parallax. We won't get into all that, but what I'm saying is that's the easy part about focusing on the star. So once you focus on it, now you got to track the thing and keep it in your frame, all right? So the best way to do that is anticipate where it's moving, and then you wait. And I did that. I actually have that on my YouTube channel. And you wait, and the star will move into your frame nice and sharp, and you have your recording, and you put it on 4K. Use 4K with this camera because 4K is sweet. So you put it on 4K, and it will zoom. I mean, not zoom, but it will just move in past your lens, and you'll get a nice sharp picture. All right. It just takes a little practice to get there. But these cameras are beautiful for shooting stars. Another thing they're good at is macro. There's a function right here. Okay. Right. See that little flower right there? That's macro. These cameras are really good at shooting macro, meaning you can shoot tiny little things. These P cameras have superb macro, okay? Superb macro. And you can shoot like little flowers and bugs and bees and all kinds of cool stuff. It's just the macro on these things are sweet. So they're not only good for flat earth photography, they're good for general photography. So macro, they can not only shoot things way up in the sky, they can shoot things really, really close. Like you can focus, let's see, I'm going to put this on macro. Let's see if I can do this for you guys. Let's see, it's on manual focus. Take it off that. And okay. Let's do the remote. And I'm going to put it on macro. So when you put it on macro, you are, let me go back. Okay, you see here, now I'm going to use this dial, and there's the little rolls there, right there. I'm going to go down like that. Yeah, and then, oops, and then you go down, down, there, right there, and hit OK. Now it's ready to focus close. So now, let's see. It's hard to do this because I have to focus. Wait a minute. I can't do this in focus too. Sorry. It's not on a tripod. But what you do is you can focus real close on it. There, see? Now I'm going to go even closer. There. So like you have this here, I'm gonna go close there. So I can go really close to it, okay? Look how close I am. Look at that. That's really close. If I wasn't on macro, and it's perfectly sharp. I'm looking at it now, it's perfectly sharp. If I wasn't on macro mode, I couldn't focus this close. Okay, so you have to be on macro mode. And don't forget to take it off because it'll drive you crazy. Okay, so, oh, flash, all right. This has an unusually powerful flash. Usually flash units in built into cameras are usually pretty weak. This is, I mean, that's big. That's a big flash unit, okay? Which is unusual. That is not the norm. I'm going to show you the difference, like the P900 flash unit. Okay, you see the P900, you see the P, look out, look at this difference. That's big, okay? So that makes this flash a bit more useful. And it can shoot like 12 feet, okay? It's not gonna outshoot this, all right? This thing can shoot it, can light up an entire room. But it's definitely better than this one here, okay? So that flash is actually useful. Tripod. Okay, this is, let me adjust my camera here. All right, this is the type of tripod you would need, okay? So it's a nice weight to it. I'm gonna show you another one too. So this is a pretty hefty one, but the part that I like about it is it has a, okay, it has a fluid head. What that means is really smooth, okay? It's really smooth. And that is really important with the type of discovery type photography that you guys want to do to show the existence of this world. So it just makes life easy. All right, so, and it has a quick release shoe on it. So you see that comes off of the top, okay? And you attach this to your camera. And if it's your only camera, you just keep it on there and it snaps and just snaps right in. And then you got to make sure you secure it. So when you snap it in, see if I can do that. Okay, so it snaps right in. See that? I did not secure it. Again, bad day. So you don't want to do that. And then you secure it, tighten it up. Now, this isn't the only, this isn't, a lot of tripods will work differently, but this is a straightforward tripod, okay? But it's a bit on the heavy side. So this one is lighter, okay? And what's good about this one, this is a good field tripod. All right, now it does not have a quick release. You can buy a quick release for it, but it does not have a quick release. As you can see, you have to screw the camera in to that screw right there. Okay. The one thing that this camera can do, this tripod that the other one can't do, is the leg goes straight out. So if you're in the field, if you're shooting something, you say you're in a forest, not forest, but a field, and you're shooting some stars, and you're in a field with rocks and stuff, where you can set this up so that you can actually adjust the legs so that they can work on different types of terrain. All right. So this is a good field tripod. It's really sturdy. All right. It's relatively inexpensive, about $200 to $300, and it's got some nice weight to it. but it's not as heavy as this one. Okay, you see the difference? Okay. Now this one has a fluid head too, not as fluid as this one. This is more of a studio tripod. This is more of a field tripod. Easier to carry around, but not too light. You don't want a tripod that's too light because you don't want to put your camera on a really light tripod. Again, bad day. You don't want that. So so this is a good field tripod. It's a good tripod to start out with. Um, and and you can actually take this head off and put different heads on it. Okay. This is a video head. You can actually put a camera head. I don't want to go off camera. I actually have another head for this, but it's in my cabinet. But you can take this head off and put another head on it, and it has three knobs for each direction. Okay, and you can adjust it, fine tune it. This is more of a video tripod, and since I shoot a lot of video as well, stills, I just use this one most of the time. Sometimes I break out the other one, but I use this most of the time. Um, so, so you want to get a tripod where the legs are sturdy, where they don't. See that? They don't. You don't want one that will collapse on you. That's why you spend some money. Spend 250, 300, and you got a good tripod. This is a Manfrotto. This is the logo there, the red dot. I like Manfrotto because it's very affordable and it's extremely sturdy. I've had this tripod for about 5 years. I got another tripod in the closet here I've had for 30, and it still works. All right, and it's a Manfrotto. So that's what I like about them. They're affordable and and they're a good support for your expensive camera. Um, let's look at some. Do we have any questions? Do you don't have any questions? Let's see. Let's see. Got a lot of conversating going on. That's good. Oh wait, I just okay. Nope. Let's see. This is an awesome topic. I need to rewatch and take notes. I usually confuse the numbers for opening and closing the lenses. Okay, numbers for opening and closing the lenses. I'm not sure what you mean there. Um, um, the well, you did remind me of something. Let me show you something here. Let me get okay. There we go. All right. So when I zoom, yeah, when I zoom in, let me put myself in the way here so you can see the numbers. You can see the numbers. See that green line moving, and you see the number underneath it? That's your focal length. And then I zoom back. I'm going to wide angle. Telephoto. See that line moving? Okay. So that's telling you what lens you're using at the time. Okay. This camera will also shoot RAW. What that means is it's a file format that records much more image data than a JPEG. Okay. Okay, a JPEG is a simple format that phones use and stuff like that. This camera will shoot RAW, which makes it more on the professional end because when you're shooting RAW, you have to edit. You have to edit a RAW image, and so you don't want. And so I'm have to do a show on editing, on photo editing, because once you shoot your images, you want to edit them. That doesn't mean you change them. It simply means you're bringing out the best of that image, and that's what RAW does. The name is pretty explanatory. It's all that data all compressed in there, and then when you use a program like Photoshop, Affinity, there's a simple photo editing on a Windows software called Photo that can actually edit raw images. It does pretty good too, actually. Um, you all know Photoshop. There's a program called GIMP. There's another one called Krita. Krita's free. GIMP is free. Photoshop is expensive because you have to pay a subscription. I don't use Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for decades, but I stopped using it because I don't like subscriptions. So I switched to a program that's just as good that does not use subscription, and that's called Affinity. So I use that program. But there are free photo editing software, and Krita, GIMP, and there's several others. And there's several other more affordable photo editing software. Understand this, you do not have to spend a fortune to do modern day photography. This camera is $1,000 new, okay? You can get it used, maybe. Because once people buy these, they don't give them up. But this is new, new is $1,000. But you can buy a Lumix. I forgot the I forgot the name of it. There's a Lumix camera that I like. It's not as good as this one. The lens isn't as long. This is 3,000 millimeter. The Lumix is about 1,250. So you can't shoot stars with it. But it's a sturdy camera and it has all the functions here. Okay. Um, um, but it has a real nice feel to the body, real solid. So let me see. What do we have any questions? Let's see. Mhm. Okay, what's that? Okay, so it says here, you would never take good zoomed shots holding a camera. Best tripod linked in my camera playlist. Okay, so this person is right. Shooting with this camera uh, zoomed out, handheld. It's possible. It's possible, but you better have a tripod. It's just best if you're gonna do this, have a tripod, unless you use a high shutter speed. Now, if you use let's see. So there's a trick. I mean, there's always a way around certain rules. Okay, that's how you know you finally learn control is when you know enough to break the rules. So, your shutter speed. So you have 1/60th of a second. That's your baseline right there. Okay. Then anything above that is a fast shutter speed. Anything below 1/60th of a second is a slow shutter speed. Okay. So when you extend this beastie all the way out, you are not. Don't even try it with 1/60th. You may pull it off, but I wouldn't. Have at least 1/60th, 1/25th, or 1/250th, or 1/500th. Okay, they actually go in those increments. So with this camera, you have to have a fast shutter speed. Okay, when you're shooting long, when you're shooting short, a wide angle lens with the lens in closer to your body, you don't have to have it as fast. And it also depends on how still your hands are, how still you are. Also, when you shoot with a camera, you don't do this, okay? You shoot like this. You see my elbows are against my body. You have your feet shoulder length apart, okay? Your feet shoulder length apart, and your knees slightly flexed. Now, here's the interesting part. Anyone out there know how to use a gun? If you know how to use a gun, same thing. You use the same technique to shoot a gun. If you know how to use a camera, you will probably be a good marksman. Okay, I've never shot a gun. I'm looking forward to it. My son's going to take me out shooting, so I'm going to use my photography skills to shoot a gun. The same thing. You hold it very similar. The only thing, you just don't have the recoil, okay? But you hold the camera and you hold your body in that straight line the same way. Well, not really a straight line because you have one foot slightly in front of the other, that sort of thing. It's about stability. So, can you shoot this handheld? Yes, but you really have to know what you're doing. It takes practice, but it can be done. So let's see what else we have here. We have, let's see, thank you. Oh, here we go. Focus. Most people would not sell both their eyes. Iris, flat and shape. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Tears. Okay, I'm looking for some questions. Let's see. Okay. See what we got here. Okay. Oh, let's see. That's yeah. Okay. We've seen stars. Oh, okay. I take it we've seen stars in a way. Some of the brilliant minds. Oh, okay. I take it we've seen stars in a way some of the brilliant minds have never seen. Galileo mag was supposed to only 33x. Yeah, isn't that interesting? 33x. This is 125. Okay. The and this one, the P900 is 83x. All right. So yeah, don't you think that's interesting? Do you have a recommended tripod? Yes. I recommend a tripod brand. I recommend Manfrotto. Okay. I showed that earlier. This is a Manfrotto. Okay. This is a Manfrotto, and it's a nice weight tripod. I'm 6 feet, so that'll give you a point of reference here. So it's a really nice tripod. See, look at that. I can hold it in one hand. And it's really sturdy. And what I really like about it are the legs. You can make the legs go in various angles, which helps you in unstable ground. Okay, Manfrotto, very affordable and very sturdy. I've had this for about 5 years. I have one in my closet there I've had for 30, and it still works. It's beat up, but it still works. So let's see what else we got here. Thank you. I was complimenting on my patients because I've been a teacher for a while. Can the P1000 take pictures of new rocket flying successfully to the moon? Yes, it can. I'm looking forward to them trying that. And one of the reasons why they haven't tried it recently is, lately, it's because of us. 2015 was a really bad year for NASA because we came along and upset everything. And until the COVID deception and YouTube and Facebook tried to put us down, COVID really hurt because we couldn't do our conferences and our meetups. But yes, we can actually watch a rocket close up with this one and this one. Okay, any of the P cameras will do it. Oh, what memory card do you recommend? I like. Oop, not that one. Yeah, okay. I like these. These here. Extreme. I'm sorry. I think that's backwards. No, it's not. So that's called Extreme Speed. I like it because this does 4K, and you need a card that's faster for 4K. Also, it's a 32 gig. I would probably get a 64. 32 is great for when you're shooting stills. Oh, by the way, when you're shooting raw pictures, you need a bigger card because raw takes up far more memory. Okay, JPEG takes up a small amount of memory. RAW is much bigger. because it contains more detail, which is awesome. Okay, but this is a good card here. I get these at Micro Center. I'm in Cleveland, so I get these at Micro Center. I don't know if any of you guys have a Micro Center. Micro Center is a big department store for computers, which is a huge department store. It's awesome. It's Nirvana for geeks. So my wife and I like going there. But yeah, I would get a 64 gig or a 30, no less than 32. No less than that. Let's see. Any more questions? Okay, let's see. Um, I'm going to have to share. Share this presentation. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the best way to learn photography is to shoot, shoot, and shoot. What distance can we see over water with the P1000? You see as far as the horizon. So I've measured like 8 to 10 miles. You can actually see further if you're a little higher up, and it doesn't take much height. But the higher you are, the more you'll see, and so you can potentially see hundreds of miles. But if you're on ground level, you're going to see less. So if you're a little higher, you can see more. But you can see pretty far. Um, and unfortunately, I can't show you. I have some videos all together I can't show you. But I shot ships that you cannot see with your naked eye. I shot pretty far out. Let's see. And some of them I did it by hand, but most of them I did it by tripod. It's just easier. Tripod just makes your life easier, and you get more shots, much more sharp shots, and you find more shots because again, when you're, especially to some of the ladies, if your hands are small and if you're small, if you have less upper body strength, this can be a beastie. Okay, it can be pretty heavy. Uh, it's 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 about the size of this one, and this is one of the heaviest cameras and one of the heaviest full frame DSLRs in the industry. So it's almost as heavy as this one. Okay, let's see. I'll take the stars. Let's see. Color temps with less humidity should increase visibility. Yes. Um, Cooler temperatures. Yes, cooler temperatures. In fact, the drier the air and the cooler the air, the better photography at a distance. Okay, you're going to get less distortion, air distortions, and so, but that's also not the most comfortable way to shoot. So, like the best time to get the best distance shots is in freezing cold weather. Okay, not good. So you got to be dressed for it and get some gloves. Good thing you got some nice size buttons on this camera. But yes, you can. Humidity decreases your visibility unless you're shooting infrared. But for normal photography, try to shoot cold or dry. So deserts are great. Do you have any experiments coming up? Yes. I want to track I want to track the sun and show that it does change sizes as it moves away on its path. Okay, as it moves away in perspective, I want to show that it actually changes size, and the best time to do that is in the winter, or if you're in a desert. Okay, so you do not have um, atmospheric effects that will magnify the size and give you that magnification distortion. So that's one of the experiments that I have coming up. You can see approximately 238,000 miles, 238,900 miles to the moon with the P1000. Yes, isn't that amazing? You can see way up in the space. Magic. That's just it's hilarious. But this proves well, actually, your human eye proves that the moon is not 239,000 miles away. But this just gives even further evidence because we cannot see 239,000 miles away. I'm sorry, these peepers are fascinating tech, but they're not that good, especially mine. Okay. Does the P1000 allow a powerful cable to be, a power cable to be connected for continual power? I believe so, and yes, it does. Okay, so, let's see, where is that? Hold on. Oh, one thing I like about P1000, okay, you have the screen here, okay? You have your screen, and you can flip it, and you protect your screen. Here's something interesting. This camera, which is the big honking big professional, this screen moves and all, but it does not cover up. You have to actually buy a screen for it. Okay, and this camera is even more expensive. So I think that's interesting. Okay, wait, what was that question? Wait, what was that question again? I was about to answer it and I got distracted. Okay. Allow power cable. Yes. Um, let's see. Yeah. One of these ports is a power. Yeah. Yeah. The USB port is a power cable. Okay. So you can get USB port. But there's another thing you can do. In the battery, all right, the battery port, the battery compartment, you can actually you take the battery out. This battery lasts pretty long to be so small. It lasts a pretty long time. So you take the battery out. Oh, by the way, always have two batteries. Do not just have one. It's frustrating. Spend the money, get another battery. And there's two things I always buy when I buy a camera: another battery and a UV filter. Hold on. Gotta be careful with this. Buy a UV filter because it protects that glass. You want to protect that front element. It's called a front element. Okay? This UV filter protects it. If you don't buy this and that gets scratched, it's a bad day. Okay? So, and when you put it on, be careful because you don't want those threads scratching the glass because that's raw glass right there. Okay? So I'm gonna put it on, make sure it's at level, screw it on, and I never take it off. Okay. How did you feel? How did you feel you did on the debate? My first time debating. I teach, so this is my first time actually debating someone officially, anyway. And I think I did pretty good. There's some things I wish I could have said, and I think I did pretty good. I would rate myself a C plus. So I think I did pretty good. Um, so when there's a accessory you can get that you can actually, it looks like a battery, but it has a cable attached to it, and you put that into the camera, and then there's a little notch here. See that? There's a little rubber cap there. You can take that out. Hold on a second. Can you take that out? I've never taken it out. Yeah, you can. Okay, so you can take it out, and a cable attaches to the little fake battery, and you plug that into a wall. And so you can have continuous power. So yes, you can do it. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, okay, that was the last question. Okay. Oh no. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. There's something else I wanted to tell you. Keep keep your filter clean because you don't want specks on your pictures. So you always want to have a cloth and you clean in circular motion from the outside to the inside. Okay, and if you use fluid on it, don't just spray it directly on there. Spray it on the cloth and then put it on there. This is a washer. Let's see. Have you seen any planets on your P1000 yet? Yes. A couple of days ago, I shot Jupiter, and I saw the bands. Fortunately, I can't show you, but I shot the bands and the little dots of light near it. I can't say they're orbiting it because that's what. Okay, so like when I shot it, it looked like this. Oops. Okay, it looked like this, and it had some bands on it. It was really vague. It was very, very vague. Okay, and then it had just these little dots and little dots. Okay, and modern science says they're rotating around it. No, they're just little dots lateral. They look lateral. So yeah, I've shot Mars, Venus. Mars is orangey red. Venus is um, uh, Venus is kind of yellow, and Jupiter is orangey red with bars on it. Let's see, interesting. Let's see this. Okay, Jupiter aligned. Let's see, interesting. Interesting. The King star. I don't know what that is. Jupiter aligned with Regulus in Vigor above Bethlehem on September 11th for approximately 30 minutes has been verified. Oh wow! I wish I could have shot that. That would have been awesome. Do you have any pictures of that? That would be great. I would love to see that. Uh, so yeah, I've shot plenty of planets, and they're just small discs of light. They don't look like the stars, or the stars are like this, like the stars kind of look sci-fi. It's really weird, but the planets are just round discs of light with colored detail, with little dots of light, little teeny dots of light. And just recently, last week, Jupiter was aligned with the moon. So you saw the moon. So you saw the moon here, and then Jupiter was like over here, and it had the little dots of light around it, and I mean near it, and it was really really bright. I've shot Sirius, the star Sirius, and I have that on my YouTube channel. So that was pretty interesting. Um, oh, you have video. Oh, sweet. I'd like to see that. Yes, I would definitely like to see that. How did you shoot the video? What did you shoot it with? Taking back Eden. What did you shoot the video with? When, oh, that's when they're. Dude, can I switch this over? Okay. Rather, that is when the three wise men. Oh, okay, right, okay, I can see that. That was a phenomenon of the three wise men. That star alignment. What is your YouTube channel? Oh, The Observer. It's called The Observer, and you can see the star videos on it and everything. I put music to it because when you view those stars, they're just so weird and phenomenal. I had to put some music to it. Yeah, The Observer, and that's my YouTube channel. Didn't realize. Yeah, the three wise men did not realize. Didn't realize what. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they didn't have a clue. Then again, maybe they did because we assumed they didn't. But those people were pretty smart back then, smarter than we are. I mean, so I don't know, maybe they did. So let's see. I think let's see. I think. Oh, there's another with the P1000. The great thing about the P1000 is it's redundant. There's different parts of the camera that can do the same thing. So you have here zoom, okay? So you have your zoom. Oops, what am I doing? Oh, I have my card in here. It will not shoot without a card. Oh, by the way, your digital zoom that will increase your 3000 millimeter 4 times, which is pretty awesome. It decreases your quality a little, but it will increase your zoom. It will not work if your camera is in RAW. If you're taking RAW pictures, your digital zoom will not work, and I don't know why, but it will not work. It's a weird thing. Oh yeah, you can actually zoom. So with this rocker switch here, you can zoom. Okay. All right, but with this switch here, you can zoom as well. Okay, and this one is smoother. Watch, it's much smoother. It's really smooth. Okay. Now here's another thing. You can do manual focus with this nice big knob, and this knob can not only use for manual focus, you can program this knob to do various things. It can do like 5 different things. You have to tell it what to do, and you use the main menu for that. I have mines for exposure and manual focus. The P900, for those of you with the P900, you can actually use this is the knob that this is the default knob for focusing, and it's really irritating trying to focus with this thing, okay? You can set your camera up so that you can use your side zoom switch. You attribute that to focusing and for manual focus. And that's much easier, much easier. It's really nice. It's not as smooth. Well, actually, it's just as convenient as this dial here, and it's much easier than using that thing. Okay, it's just a pain to use for focusing. So go into your main menu and tell your camera to use your rocker switch. Let's see. In the beginning time, in the beginning time, past, present, future, God created the heaven, space, length, wide, height, and edge, matter, solid. Yep, that's creation, all right. Okay, in the beginning, length, height, matter, solid, liquid, gas, Trinity, all the first sentence, the Holy Bible. Oh, yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, I've actually, people say, so why is creation even important? You just illustrated it right here, okay? Because it shows you more of the word. It shows you more of scripture, and it gives you a better understanding of it all. And learning photography helps you see all of that, and it helps you see through the lies, especially with these cameras that, quite frankly, shouldn't exist. Okay, I'm still amazed you can just go to Best Buy and get one of these. So that's crazy. This camera can do 600 millimeter. This is a bridge camera too. This is a Sony RX10 Mark IV. This is the P1000. P1000 can do 3000 millimeter. This can do 600 millimeter. This is more suited for all around pro. You can shoot a feature film with this camera. It's that good, okay? Because it's got a lot of stuff in it. All right, a lot of equipment built squashed into this small body, and you can actually use this to do a feature film if you want to. Okay, so we've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes. It seems like longer. This has been really fun. Let's see. Oh, There's another accessory that I don't have, and I wanted to try to get it for this conference, but I just couldn't get it in time. It's called a dot spot, and what it does is you put it on the hot shoe, and it comes about so high. And any of you marksmen out there, anyone that has a sight for a gun, you'll see like a small red dot, and that's your spot that you put on your target. Well, you can actually get that for this camera, and that helps you focus on those tiny little stars. I can't wait to get it. When I get it, I'm going to do a review on it. But it's about 175, so it's not cheap. That's one of the reasons why I haven't got it yet. I got priorities, but it really helps focus on those tiny little stars. So it's called a dot spot. Nikon makes one specifically for Nikon cameras. Um, so that look into that. It will really help you find stars faster. So I'm looking forward to getting it. Let's see. So I'm going to be doing far more photography related stuff. And I'm going to focus on editing and doing just bringing out photography. If anyone wants to know more about photography, and send me some subject ideas so that I can teach on those. Chris and I are going to be doing more flat out insight content, and I want to do more tips and tricks on photography. I've been shooting 35 years, and I got a bunch of, wait a minute, maybe you can see it. See all that? That's crazy. So I've been doing this a while, and so I love sharing what I've learned, and so I want to do more of this. So I've been looking forward to this part of the conference. So thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by. There's a lot of conversations going on here. I can see it. It's awesome. I'm sorry, I got stuck reading some of these. These are good. So this is going to be the beginning of far more. Flat Out Insights is going to be far more involved out there and doing more content. So thank you, everyone, for coming by. This is Michael signing off, and feel free to visit my channel and send some of your pictures. And if you want them critiqued or you want just want to share them and talk about them, send them over to Flat Out Insights Facebook page, and we could talk some tech on your photographs. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a good night.